So this one also says 11:03, so we're wildly on time.
11, almost 5.
Well, that's Shinola. We are live now, though. We're just sitting here talking.
just talking about it.
Talking shit.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yes, Ken.
what's happening today, son?
Today, it is Friday, January 17th at 11:04. It is now 11:04. It was 11:03 when we started. And we have with us today Julie and Jamie from Earthquaker Devices. Very exciting stuff. Very exciting.
It is? Yeah, very much so.
And Ken, as always, right there behind the desk.
Not as exciting.
Haven't been behind the desk in a while.
Yeah, yeah, we've had a lot of like musical guests of late.
Sure.
Yeah. And we have some gadgetry here today that we're going to get to as well.
Yes.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks for coming up last night and having a little hang and all of that stuff. That was fantastic.
I love the Pizza Palace.
The Pizza Palace, J&G
like-
Pizza Palace, Sylvania, Ohio. Yeah. How was
Hey.
the baklava?
Delicious. I woke up this morning and had so much pizza all over this sweater.
And where are we going for lunch when we're done with this?
Oh,
Tony Pacos.
Tony Pacos.
And they asked.
Yeah, I've
So
been
how-
here.
have you-
You corrected me last night when I said hot dog, but I'm going to say it again because people are always like, "Have you been to Tony Pacos hot dog shop?" But
Hungarian sausage.
Hungarian sausage.
I call it a hot dog.
It's a hot dog.
fine.
Yeah.
They call them hot dog buns.
Yeah.
That
right.
is,
It's not Hungarian sausage buns.
That-
What if they're hot dogs in Hungarian sausage buns? Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a new restaurant.
That is.
That's a new one.
Yeah. It's
be-
phony Pacos.
Yes. Phony Pacos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Gary Pacos.
That's Greg's favorite. So there's always Pacos talk around Toledo, but it's good. It's
Yeah,
cool.
We've lived in Ohio our whole lives and know virtually nothing about Toledo
Nice.
somehow.
Toledo struggles to find its own identity being so close to Detroit. And also, there's no major highway connecting it to Ohio's capital. And people often call it Little Detroit, and people from Toledo hate that.
I bet.
They hate that real bad.
Little Detroit.
Yeah, because we do have a really cool identity here. We make glass. Owens Corning, Owens, Illinois, and it's amongst other things, Libby. So most of the glasses that you've drank at bars over the years have originated over here somewhere, like right over there. We'll go by it later.
Behind the curtain.
Fascinating.
Right,
Yeah.
now you know.
It's interesting. A friend of ours, old employee, Ben Vhorn, once got stopped on the street by some older people in a car, and they asked him if he knew which highway to take to Toledo.
Oh.
And he
Toledo.
couldn't figure it out for a long time, and then he looked it up and was like, Toledo. You want to get to Toledo. Got it. So that's all I think about whenever I
Nice.
see Toledo. Toledo.
So, the pedal business is in Akron.
No,
That's right.
Our pedal business.
And how did that start?
How did Earthquaker start?
Yeah, how did Earthquaker start, and how did you end up in Akron? Julie, are you from Akron?
Yes, born and raised.
Born and raised.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up in Akron.
That's how you ended up. That's
love.
interesting. Yeah, Penny Suzanne, born and raised Toledo, Ohio. That's how I ended up in Toledo.
Oh, nice.
Same story. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that's how I ended up in Akron, and then how I ended up with the pedals is I was in a band for a long time called the Party of Helicopters, and we had broken up, and I wasn't doing anything, so then I just started getting really into collecting pedals,
Okay.
and I had no money, so everything was like all this cheap bullshit. And one thing that I had that I really liked, I had this old DoD 250 overdrive, like a yellow, like maybe early 80s or 70s one. And it sounded super good. I really liked the way it sounded, and it broke. I bought a new one from Guitar Center because they were also like $30 brand new. It sounded nothing like it, and was like, well, just in my mind, like when pedals broke like cables, you just get rid of them, and there's like no one to fix them. But I was like, I really like this pedal. I'm gonna figure out how to fix it. So I looked it up. Found generalguitargadgets.com, found the schematic, and was like, there's nothing inside this thing, and just kind of went backwards through it, fixed the pedal, and then decided that it was a lot of fun. I felt smarter than I actually was for fixing the pedal.
Nice.
And then I kind of just went on a rabbit hole. Like I think I built the project that they had for the DoD 250 and like made a mod to it. And was like, oh, that's cool. And then I built like 6 months worth of fuzz faces that didn't work. One caught on fire. But like, I do feel like I'm the kind of person that like it takes me like 3 tries to get anything right. But
Sure.
I'm like committed once I start doing it. And then I just got bit by that bug of making stuff.
And how did that? I mean, it's a big leap.
How did that translate?
Yeah, I mean, how does that translate
Well, I was-
into? Wow, I think we can make a living at this.
Well, I was making pedals for like friends, but not like tons of pedals, you know, like
Yeah.
10, 20 maybe. And like, they all seemed to enjoy it. I was completely oblivious to the fact that like boutique pedals were a thing. And then like a friend told me about like Death by Audio, and like I had known about Full Tone like from like years before when he was like making those like label stickers,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
pedals and stuff. And my friend Ron Wesley, who was like a big, at that time he was like really into rockabilly, and he had like a Gretsch White Falcon, and like my punk brain was like that's lame, and he was always talking about like full tone pedals. I was like, oh, full tone, whatever. Buy a Boss pedal. So like I was like, you know, I just was like oblivious kind of to like there being a thing with that, like that you could actually do it. And then I found the Harmony Central forums back
yeah.
then, and started posting on there. I had made a pedal for a famous friend. And someone posted the video like, what is he using? And I was like, oh, I made that pedal. And that kind of like kickstarted a little bit of interest. So I was selling pedals on Harmony Central and then put them up on eBay. But nobody was really like biting at that time. And my art was a little iffy, I would say. It was like clip art, full color, weird formats for pedals. So I kind of like pulled all that stuff down and like rethought it like while I was on tour, and was like, I'm gonna do it this way instead. And like for whatever reason, it was essentially like what Earthquaker looks like today. It was like the same fonts and everything, but a little bit more minimalistic. And very shortly after like a couple people showed some interest, I kind of found the format that we have stuck to, like this, you know, graphic style. And that was pretty much it. It was just like word of mouth.
Was that first pedal the hoof?
The first pedal was the hoof, yeah.
I have a brown one somewhere.
Oh, you do? Just like is it like a 3-knob one?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably a very old one.
Cool.
Do you remember where you got it?
Yeah, I got it from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we-
had something to do with like a Ron Ashton guitar and a hoof pedal, and like things went back and forth.
Yeah. We had met either in the very, very early days of Earthquaker or right before Earthquaker.
Right.
I think initially.
Right
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you quit touring,
Yeah.
like you calling me and telling me I'm not doing this anymore. Because
Yeah.
I'd reached out to you for something to do with the band, and then you were like, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so," which is fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, you are shit." Are you sure you want to do that?
I mean, that was so like, yeah, like 2000, really started making pedals like 2004, 2005. Earthquaker like really started doing stuff 2007, I would say. But you know, I'd
sounds
applied
about
the name like long enough to say legitimately it's our 20th anniversary as a company now. But it really like, I don't think that how it worked for me, for us, then would work now. It was like really word of mouth on like forums and stuff like that. There was like 10 other pedal companies, you know, that I could really think of, like Debbie Ever,
Yeah.
Death by Audio. There's obviously Full Tone and Zebex, and Maleko was just starting. I think JHS hadn't started yet.
No.
Like there was like barely any like
Keeley.
real, yeah, Keeley.
Keeley,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we used to do a lot of stuff with Keeley and Visual Sound.
Yeah, Visual
You
Sound.
know.
I because you could buy Visual Sound at Guitar Center, I just viewed them as like,
It's right, no, of
you
course.
know,
Yeah.
you know. It took me a while. It took me us being in business for like 10 years before I like stopped. I don't even know if I could put this into words. Like you viewed like these companies as just like business entity, like Coke or like Marlboro or whatever, like nameless, faceless things, and then like you meet people from the companies, and you're like, oh, you're a person who runs like it's a company, not some like you know,
Yeah.
faceless entity or whatever. So like, you know, that's my excuse for visual sound. But like,
No, but like sidebar from that,
yeah,
just for the hell of it, isn't it funny when you cross that threshold from like viewing the company as the thing, and then you start to view the company as the person, and then you find out the person is a douche.
yeah,
Like that is a weird. I've had that experience in this industry a couple times, and it's always so it's like alarming, right? Because you're like, I like that stuff, and then you find out you don't like the person, and then you start to not like the stuff anymore. Eventually, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's a weird.
yeah. I mean, I could think of a few instances where that
Yeah.
that has happened. For
I
me,
mean, not a lot.
I would say.
Damn near everybody on this. You do this because you like it. You don't do it because there's any money in it.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that's it. To be on a level where you're making money in this business, you have to be in a completely different financial
Right.
thing.
I mean, yeah, your interests have to lie in a lot of different areas too about like what you like, not
100%.
just like I like to play guitar.
Yeah,
or whatever.
right. Yeah. So, okay, so Julie, then, at what point was it like? Well, first off, what were you doing while he was touring and tinkering around with pedals? I mean, what were you doing for a living?
Well, I was working at a bank during most of that era. Before that, I was a booking agent. I had my own booking agency.
Oh, shit.
And I started that to book Jamie's bands and other like independent bands. And then at some point, I just really needed health insurance. And there was a local bank, and I got hired as a branch banker. And then
So did you
worked
go
in
to
their back
school
office.
for
I went to school
finance?
for economics.
Economics? Okay.
Yeah. So was a branch banker, then I worked in the back office of investments, and then I became a financial planner. And that's what I was doing when I eventually left. I worked there almost 10 years
Wow.
when I left. So that was really interesting. I mean, I also am like pretty, punk in my ethics and philosophy. So working at a bank, I always was like, advocating for people, would refund people's overdraft fees because I felt bad for them, and help people get their credit back on track. Or, for financial planning, I really enjoyed that because it was like solving a puzzle, and it wasn't always just for people who had money. Sometimes I was helping people, figure out if they needed to go through bankruptcy or what their next step should be. So
Also,
I really enjoyed,
transition
like-
to the music business is
seamless. Seamless. So with Earthquaker, I would like help Jamie in the evenings, and like also, I mean, in all kinds of stuff that he did, I would like help him out with stuff.
Yeah.
But not being a musician, I was always like kind of like a step or two removed from parts of it,
Yeah.
But I would assemble pedals at night for him, or do the taxes every year, and
And you were just doing that out of your house.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was out of the
mhm,
basement.
yeah.
Like her office was to my right, and like
Yeah.
I was also working as a graphic designer too,
Yeah.
like as tour managing,
Yeah.
doing freelance graphic design, and like the pedals were like
And selling stuff on
hobby.
eBay.
and selling stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
That kind of led into
Yeah.
to all of this. I sold silverware on eBay
Yeah.
again because Julie read an article in the paper about a guy who made $1 million in Akron selling spoons, and I was like.
Yeah.
She bought a box of silverware and cleaned it up, and I put it on eBay and was like, we're selling all of these things to like these Midwestern housewives who like cannot have a Thanksgiving dinner without a complete set of soup spoons. So you sell a spoon for like $50 to these people. It's like ridiculous.
That's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah, I chime in real quick, not to interrupt Julie, but like Julie, you were talking a little bit last night about like people who like possess that skill where like they can just sell people something or just like talk,
Yeah.
and like people listen. Like Julie is like very good at doing that stuff. Like just kind of took on like booking my band with like zero knowledge, like doing stuff that like I would never be able to do, like sell the band to like a club or like a house or whatever, and just be like, yeah.
Yeah,
they're gonna
we talked about asking for the sale a little bit
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
night when we
Well, I
were
don't think
talking
I would
about.
be able to do it for something I didn't believe in.
Sure.
Or really, really like. Everything has to have some kind of personal meaning for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, those kinds of things were like fun challenges for me. learning something new and, you know, kind of looking at how I could support Jamie and what he was doing, you know, because he is like super smart, super talented. You know, one of the things I think drew us together is that we were both really kind of independent, you know, at a young age from our parents. And like I was a young single mom when we met. So we were kind of like, and he was running a record label. We were young, independent, kind of always trying to like hustle to like, you know, earn a living from a bunch of different sources. And I guess that made us, you know, entrepreneurial, you
Yeah,
know,
sure.
like
Of course.
not waiting for just, you know, some shitty job to like take care of us, like
Yeah.
having, I know for like a good 5 years of our beginning of relationship, like all my income was from like 5 different sources that I would do all these random things to just get by, you know? So then the pedal thing was really interesting to me, and it was really tough having young kids and him being gone on tour. So I was really like relieved when he stopped touring. And then the pedal thing, seeing that grow just organically, it was really not, you know, it was like very much reinvesting everything back and it growing and him being barely able to keep up with demand. And like when I left the bank, it also, my son's father had taken his own life like the year before. And
Yikes.
it was this big kind of like, what am I doing with my life? And can I be more present for my kids? And could I have more control over my own destiny than working at a bank for 40 plus hours a week? So just really wanted to, yeah, go all in on Earthquaker. And it was like nerve wracking because the bank was our stable income that we could always count on. And it was where we got our health insurance. And that was our big fear. But I wasn't like taking my own advice, like do the research and see how it looks. And we ended up getting better health insurance for a lower cost than what I got through the bank. And from that time and continue to offer it to our employees. So that was pretty huge for us. But like I know at the time Jamie was doing all the business, like anything that involved using a computer, like ordering inventory, dealing with all the orders, bills, shipping, everything.
Still in your basement.
Still in the basement. We
Still
were
in the
we were in the
basement.
basement until 2010. It was 2 different basements.
It was 2012.
12, yeah, 2012,
Yeah.
sorry. We had agreed on that, though.
Yes.
Yeah, but, so that was part of the thing about working in the basement is like, you don't really, like you're in your house, like you could sleep for like 2 hours and
Yeah.
get up and do this shit. So that's like how like a lot of, I mean, it was a ton of work, I think. And like the way that I managed this at the time, the business side of the stuff was never like my real interest or a strong suit, but I was the most responsible of like all the people I was in punk bands with. So like I knew how to handle money and talk to people about it. So like I would run it like a punk band and I would do dumb stuff like, well, I'm busy all the time developing pedals, so I'll check my email at night once and I'll respond if I feel like I have time, and I'll only ship stuff on Fridays because I'll just set aside like nothing that makes any sense at all, but it made perfect sense
it
to
made
me.
sense to you, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember like we hadn't shipped for like a couple weeks because you were sick of shipping.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
I'd had it.
Yeah, and I was like, well, we'll just ship every day, you know? Like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we had employees too by
Yeah.
that point. Like we had, by the time we left the basement, we had 9 employees down
So
there.
wait, Julie, what year did you quit the bank?
2012, yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
And that was the sort of the like leap of faith moment, not to be all Hallmark about it, but I mean,
Yeah.
what happened where you were like, yeah, we can do this? Were you just ripping your hair out? Was there way too much for you to do and you needed?
I mean, I was losing my mind. Julie was a little bit more like, I don't want to do this. Can I come work? And I do believe at the time I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
you were like, maybe in like a year or two. I was like, no, I'm doing
well,
it now.
it was like because of the way that I was doing things, like it was
Yeah.
really up and down.
Yeah.
Like there was times where like I was like, well, I can pay everybody who's down here, but like then like there's no money, and then there'd be times where it was like really, really well, and like doing really, really well. And it was like, well, I don't want to make any changes or anything like that because it was growing.
Yeah.
But then it was like, yeah, Julie, I think, had worked for Earthquaker full time for like 1 week, and like suddenly it was like a fully functional like industry, like out of the basement with like employees and health. It was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was a good idea.
Yeah, knowing both of you, that doesn't surprise me at all. Because I mean, I can remember seeing you at shows, and then I can remember seeing you at shows, you know, and like, and it really.
Go on.
No, it's true though. I mean, we had when your company was really young, we used to co-sponsor like
Yeah, the
Reverend
events
events
in
and stuff, like
Nashville,
the
yeah.
Summer NAMM
Yeah.
in Nashville, or like whatever goofy thing that I was throwing together. And my thing, because Penny and I's company was young too. I mean, Penny and I jumped into this in 2010, but we, you know, obviously there was 13 years of history with the Reverend brand that we were trying to sort of capitalize on and trying to do things. We had great artists, especially in Nashville at the time, like Reeves and Rick and these guys.
Yeah.
And so every time we would put like an event together, I always thought, well, who can we get to jump on this event with us? And I would talk, like, I don't even need anything from you other than I just want you to come and hang out, and I'm going to put your logo on the poster so that it looks like a bunch of us are doing something cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but that was great because like Reeves still loves your stuff.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, I
and
mean,
that
I feel like
grew out of
we
that.
met a lot of awesome people from.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and it's funny for me, like looking back on that, how all of us were just. So, do you ever look back on that era and be like, oh, that was the good times?
No.
Or do you look back on that era and be like, because I barely remember it.
Well, we were so, I don't know, optimistic, and everything was really new and exciting.
And like
Yeah.
moving so quickly, and we were
Yeah.
hiring people like crazy, and like everyone
Yeah.
was weirder than the next one. So it was like
It was
there's a
fun,
lot of
yeah.
stuff that was like super fascinating,
Yeah.
and some stuff that I think I felt like was scary.
Yeah.
I would say like
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of it that was scary. I would say, like, taking that plunge felt really, yeah, like we were cutting our safety net or something.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I definitely look back at all those times with fond memories, and like, you know, we learned so much. It was, you know, we learned as we went. We didn't know what we were doing. We were figuring out.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I feel like we're still learning stuff
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two different kinds of companies in this business, and there's like the small passion-driven companies that are created by guys like you or guys like Naylor, where they just didn't have a choice and couldn't see themselves doing anything else, and they just dug their heels in and they keep doing this, no matter what the outcome is going to be. You know,
Yeah.
like here we all are. And then there's companies that like go out and get investors and have business plans and banks
Yeah.
and, or money coming from other corporations or other industries sort of propping up those businesses. And it's like, and they seem so together, but like at their core, there's like a dude there who's trying to hold it all together.
Yeah, and I think like those kind of, I mean, you know, not everything is this way, but I think a lot of those kind of businesses, where it starts from a business plan, not from like someone's passion about being
Right.
into something. Like there's a plan for how they're going to make money.
Yeah.
You're set up to fail right away.
Yeah,
You're going to put tons of money into looking pro and big and important,
that's it.
and not have anything to like really back it up with. I think.
Penny and I had a plan coming into this, and it was the opposite of looking big. Like our thought was, how small can we be and still survive? Like what can we pare this business down to and still keep it going and pay the bills every month? And if we can figure that out, then we'll just work hard from there and see where
Yeah.
it goes. You know, and that sounds like what happened in the basement. Like you guys just.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously you alluded to this already. There's a certain amount of like right place, right time.
Yes.
Too, because you had
I think so.
some really innovative products, really innovative pedals, and you were doing things that other people weren't doing yet.
Yeah.
And you were ahead of the wave of, oh shit, now everybody's making pedals.
Yeah.
You know, like you established your brand name before everybody in the world decided they can make pedals in their garage.
I've heard from a lot of folks that Jamie especially, inspired them to
That's
make
great.
pedals.
To make
and
so,
go to
I feel like I finally hit that age now where like established companies like, oh, I started doing it big. I'm like, oh, I feel old. But like,
Yeah.
I do think like I was learning on the job, making pedals, not really aware of the industry. Like, I do think I was doing things that were like familiar
Yeah.
and like intuitive, but there was always like something that was like, oh, that's different. Like you can't find that on something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that got people interested. You know, it was
Sure.
like a little electro-harmonics is just how like people would view us from what I gathered from people talking at me at NAMM shows. Like,
Not with you?
yeah, no, at me for sure. For sure, the first couple
I heard it.
NAMM shows.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. Yeah. Hey, you know what you should do?
I don't know like how long like you have to be in business before like people stop coming up like, hey, I got it. I don't want it. I don't want it.
No, it never ends. It never ends. Yeah, I'll have 10 people next week tell me about switching systems for 3 pickup guitar.
Yeah, it's gonna, yes.
It never ends.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Like, I appreciate it when people I like are like, hey, I was thinking, but like,
Oh, you know what I got to ask you? Back to like a more personal note here. How do you know our friend Chris Col?
Chris Col sent us an email trying to scam us out of some pedals.
Sounds like my guy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Toledo born and raised.
Yeah, I run this studio and I know these famous people.
Yeah, yeah.
And we sent him some pedals and then we met him and we're like, you're amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing.
And then watched him still to this day do that with other people. Like I'm making fun of Chris because we know him.
Okay,
Too,
right,
we know him too
yeah.
well.
We love Chris.
Chris Colte is an amazing human being.
Yeah, he's an incredible engineer.
He is, yeah,
Yeah,
he's a genius. He's got an
And
incredible
musician
ear.
and, yeah.
We employed
And farmer.
farmer.
Small farmer.
We employed him for a little while with the job title vibe technician. He would just light incense and make coffee for people in our NAMM booth.
yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
he took that
I
job
remember.
very seriously.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Penny is. I think you guys don't care, but it's just weird. Penny went through middle school and high school with Chris.
Yeah.
Chris was like besties with Penny's older brother, and they used to sit around and listen to the Descendants and All together in the
Yeah.
90s, you
Nice.
know? And when the first time we saw him at the NAMM show, I thought Penny's heart was going to come right out of her mouth. She was so excited, you know? I mean, just, and he's a really, really cool dude. He is
He is.
currently recording Navarro's band, The Boroughs.
Oh, yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't get that guy like out of the peripheral of my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just always
He's
gonna
always
be
like
that.
he's always
Yeah.
hanging around the corner somewhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just and I've spent way too little time with him over the years. I hope he sees this.
Yeah, we see him like maybe once a year now, maybe twice
Yeah.
if we're lucky. And like we've gone to visit him like the last 2 summers, and he's always like he's just always getting up to something bizarre.
Yeah, he is.
He was like farming beans in his back, like in like downtown Detroit, like in his backyard, like a bean farm.
So when did you get the big building in Akron and move it
So
out of the basement?
we moved out of the basement. You want to finish?
2015.
No, we moved out of the basement in 2012.
Oh, we moved out of the basement in 2012 into what is now our studio.
Okay.
And then we moved into our current headquarters in 2015, where we hold Earthquaker Day. And
Yeah. And when did
Yeah.
the city rename the street Earthquaker Road?
that was in 2019, after we were named the 2019 SBA Exporter of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
They
Yeah.
said, what do you want? And I said, I want this alley named Earthquaker Drive. Or they were like Earthquaker Street. I was like, Earthquaker Drive.
Yeah, drive.
Yeah.
They had a big unveiling, and then
Yeah.
that winter we learned we have to pay to plow it.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
Ouch.
Yeah.
Are
It's a
you
privilege and a responsibility.
Yes.
are you still a pedal collector?
Me?
Yeah.
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 No, I don't think as much as I once was, because like
Yeah.
I feel like at some point I've owned almost everything.
But do you have some like vintage stuff that you refer to when you're working on?
Yeah.
You do that whole.
I have like that's most of the stuff that I keep is like the vintage stuff that I know I'm never gonna get rid of. My bigger problem is like a chronic hoarder and seller. Like I still am always like looking for a deal on some old thing, and then I keep it for a year, and then I sell it on Reverb.
He doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I bought a double neck Ibanez from 1975.
I have one.
Yeah. I found.
I traded
Of course you do.
2 Avalanche runs for it.
I traded some reverence for it, but it was a set neck. And
Oh, you have the set neck? I have the bolt-on one.
I've only found 3 set necks in the world.
Yeah, I didn't know that exists.
Yeah, and it's bizarre.
That's
super beautiful.
I don't know how yours is, but mine's, even with the bolt-on neck, is awesome. The
Yeah.
pickups in it are super
Totally.
good.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, here we but I'm like, I'm going to put 4 rail hammers in this.
No.
This is going to be sweet. And now I'm like, no, I'm not going to break a solder joint on this. It's absolutely beautiful. Like, you know what I mean? But I always get into trouble thinking, oh, I'm going to do pickup demos on this guitar.
No,
You know?
yeah.
Like an idiot.
Yeah, still a pedal collector. Not so much new stuff.
Yeah.
I would say. Like, I'm not really looking around to see, like, what is going on. For better or worse, I think.
I've always thought your pedals were fun, and we've participated in all the Earthquaker days, and I will still, any opportunity that we have to do any sort of marketing together, I always jump all over. I think you guys approach the pedal thing in a similar way to that Naylor and I approach the guitar thing, in that idea that this is familiar, but yet it's different.
But there's
but
something
it's
just a
not
little
different
bit
enough
different.
to really alienate people. You know, like there's something to sort of grab onto there, because there's some pretty esoteric stuff in the pedal world now that I don't understand. You know, some of the stuff is just so complicated that it completely loses me. And I have all the respect in the world for the guys who want to hook up a mini USB to their pedal and like do all this crazy shit to it and stuff. Like I get
I'm joking.
I get that, but I can't. My brain just doesn't function.
Yeah,
like that.
me neither. And I think that's like there's like, I feel like I'm feeling it now more than ever. Like everyone's always forward thinking. Like that's how the world progresses. Like, you know,
In
but
theory.
like in theory, but guitar players, I am one, so I feel safe with this. Like people, like they just like as simple as it could possibly be. Like most guitar players don't want. In their mind, they think they want stuff to be new and fresh and advanced, but in reality, in like use, they don't. They just
Right,
want it to
of
be.
course not.
They just want it to be really simple. Like people who hang out in the studio all day and make soundtracks, and apparently people who post on the internet love MIDI and like USB and 4,000 controls and menus and stuff like that. But like most musicians just want to make music, and they just want something interesting but familiar.
Yeah.
And like it's so hard to like walk the line of like, how do I make something familiar and interesting that also like kind of inches a little bit towards the future at the same time,
Yeah.
and also be something that I like, because that's at the end of the day, like, I mean, for better or worse, I'm still just making stuff that I like, and I don't really, you know, I was lucky that for 20 years now, like other people like it and buy it, but like I'm not trying to make stuff for them, you know, I guess.
No, that is exactly the thing. And when people ask me for advice about this business, or I get way too many people ask me for advice about their music and their bands and stuff like that. Because like really, I make guitars, man, you know, and I play in like weird bands.
Yeah, you're a very active musician, though.
But the thing is, if you do what you like, people will either come around to what you're doing, or they won't.
Yeah.
But if you try to make everybody happy, you'll never get there. You'll never find it. You'll never find the thing that makes everybody happy. And you will always be behind the curve, you know. And I tell like bands this all the time. Like if you just want to appeal, you're never going to be on a vanguard of anything, you know. But if you do what you love and just wait and see if, I mean, you got to put in the work, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel the same way about the guitar and the pedal business. Like the fact that you're doing what you like makes it interesting to people from the outside who can't really put that in. Like, I like them. Maybe they don't know why they like you, but they like you because they sense that about your business.
I mean, I think, you know, Julie has put a lot of effort into like a thing that I didn't know like existed, which is like company culture. And like it did create like a vibe with Earthquaker, like in a period, like you can tell like what kind of people we are and what kind of company we are just by like watching like our YouTube videos and like in Instagram videos, and we get emails all the time about people who are like, I just like your company. I just like the way that you run the they give a shit less about like the products. It's just like we like your vibe.
Yeah.
And that is important.
It's
like
huge.
that's I mean, I'm sure you get it, and like, you know, that's kind of it's getting harder and harder for like gear companies to survive. Just like recording studios, and the ones that like succeeded, like you walk into the like a recording studio, which we've done a bunch of series on. You walk into, you know immediately like, oh, this is why they're still in business. Like there's a vibe to it, and I think that that's what's starting to happen to like gear companies now. Like it's harder and harder to stay in business, but like the ones who are like thriving, like you get in the vicinity of them, and you're like, this is why. Like it's like just a good vibe, like a functioning machine that like wants to draw people into it.
And how did you do that? Like, did you just let people be themselves, or was it part of your hiring thing, or part of the way you treat people, or a little bit of all of that?
I think it's a little bit of all of it, yeah. And I definitely put a lot of effort into trying to be inclusive and encourage people to be themselves and create like a safe space, whether it be through like benefits or some sort of, you know, like we have like an employee emergency fund that if somebody has like a financial emergency, they can ask us for help, and they're also going to get some advice too. You know, they'll get some money and they'll get some advice, and hopefully they take the advice and the money. You know, things like that. Kind of coming from a corporate background and looking at like, well, what was really lacking there, you know, and feeling this really strong commitment to my employees. I feel like they give us so much of their time, so much of their life, that I want to make it a place that they like to be, that they feel good about their work, and that they have, you know, the ability to have a family and go on vacation and take, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of other places that I worked didn't really prioritize that type of thing. And then, you know, creating cool opportunities and experiences, travel opportunities. We get invited to be on guest list to a lot of awesome shows. Things like that are just amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So now that you have a lot of employees and a lot of distributors and dealers and all of those things that everything comes along with that, I mean, what are your roles now?
I mean, my role, in some ways, they haven't really changed too much. Like, there's more people to do some of the less fun stuff, I would say. You know, like that stuff gets spread around a little bit. But I mean, I think if anything, my role has more solidified into like I'm just designing products.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Like we do, at the end of the day, I think make all of the big decisions for the most part. But
with a lot of input from others.
yeah, well, of course, with a lot of input
I do
from
a
others.
lot
But
of accounting and human resources related things, and a lot of trying to kind of chart the course and future planning, goal setting, things like that.
yeah, I'm just making shit
Yeah, you are.
all the time.
Speaking of,
All day.
And most of it will just never see the light of day. But that's all I'm doing is making stuff all the time.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's Gary?
Gary, he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
And a good guy.
No, he's a good boy.
He's a good boy, Gare Bear.
All right.
Gary.
They brought some stuff.
Yeah, we
And
did.
Some I'm familiar with. You guys hear the silos all the time because I have it in the demo board that I use here on Fridays. If you ever hear some long-tailed delays, what's that? But I had a lot of questions in the pictures I posted of your pedals leading up to this, because a lot of the pedals on my boards have the Reverend logo on it.
I
And
know.
everybody's like, "Are you guys doing something?" And so Reverend sponsors their annual event, Earthquaker Day, and that is a thing that is worth going to. It's an absolute blast. One of my bands played last year,
Yeah, you
which
did.
was a blast.
On like our weirdest year yet.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
And they have live music, and they open up their factory for tours, and they have dealers, and you let your employees set up and sell all of their
Arts and
arts
crafts.
and craft, and the whole thing is really interesting and really fun. Tornado aside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
this
that
year
was- I thought we
was
were gonna
a little
die.
wild.
It was a nightmarish, but it evened out.
Yeah, but as a sponsor of that event, they give us part of my sponsorship thing is I get a bunch of pedals that come my way that have our logo on them. Usually, whatever it is you're doing new that year, launching that year, or whatever, and then I come back out here and hand them out to the fellas when I get
Awesome.
home.
So
Right?
you don't sell them on eBay like
No,
everybody else?
I give them to these guys. And,
Great. Oh, that makes me so happy.
And whoever comes to help
Yeah.
me, usually I have a buddy or two,
Yep.
will come and sit
Yeah.
with the guitars
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything. And then I put them on the board around here. So
I felt bad for you guys last year. You guys were in like the worst spot for like the torrential downpour windstorm. Your tent blew away.
yeah, that's just.
That was before
Actually, it
the
was
canopy.
Actually, it was your tent.
Yeah, well,
So
our tent blew away.
yeah, we didn't have our canopy with us, so our tent was fine and warm and dry right here.
I don't even think we had it yet.
Yeah, that could be. Okay, so let's talk about the stuff you brought, and then we'll
Pedals.
take a couple questions and get out of here.
Okay, we'll start with Gary. I
yeah,
guess.
start with Gary.
Gary took about I think 2 years to be born. It is a signature pedal for Lee from the band Idols, and Lee is a total sweetheart, and Idols are one of my favorite bands ever. If anybody has never heard them, listen to them. They're fucking great. More importantly, go see them. It's one of the best live shows ever. Very stoked on it. He was using the Gray Channel. So the whole thing started with, I went to go see him in Cleveland, and he had put in a request for us to make a Gray Channel that's only the green channel with no diode clipping switch. So essentially, an op-amp based clean boost, and then you just get op-amp distortion the more you turn the gain up. And I was like, I don't know if that would be like a great product, but I'll just make you one. So I made him one and gave it to him, and he was into it. And then he had mentioned this, I think the whole thing, the whole idea of it starting as an Earthquaker pedal came from him being like, well, if we want to make a pedal, I've got the perfect name for it. And he just had the right amount of pause, and he was like, Gary. And I was like, I'm sold. I don't even know why. Yeah, there's something about the way he pitched it that I was immediately like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
But then I was like, well, what else can we do with Gary? And we had tossed around a couple ideas for the right half of it until we landed on this. What Lee's only request to me was, I want a fuzz pedal that sounds like it's breaking.
Yeah.
I can make stuff, I guess, that sounds like it's breaking, but it is breaking. It doesn't sound like it's breaking.
Yeah, right.
It's breaking.
Yeah.
How do we make it repeatable? So I took one stab at it, and it wasn't the greatest thing. And then I was like, I can do better. And then came up with this pulse width modulation fuzz circuit, which is
Let's go.
There's not too many of them. I guess I'll show you.
Yeah,
What that is.
show us.
That's why this
We've
Vernon
got
Reed guitar is
Vernon
here.
Reed guitar here. You guys know Vern.
So it's kind of
It's awesome.
if you get it up around noon, it's so narrow. you get it up above it, it just goes away entirely. Which now
It's
enough
broken.
of them have gone out in the world where our customer service guy JP has to field this all the time. Where they're like, it's not working right. It's like, it's working right. This is what it's supposed to
Fantastic.
do. Yeah. So Lee plays a lot of like low output pickup guitars, like a lot of like Fender, like the Duosonic or like Tellys with really weak pickups. So like that's why this has like that kind of massive range. But
Sure.
guitar with like these rail hammers in it is going to kind of blow it out pretty quickly.
If you roll off the bass contour control all the way, it'll
Yeah.
take away some of that.
But you could also just put that, like take the whole pulse width modulation out of the circuit. It's just like a really good, like dead quiet, like.
Gnarly. That's Bob Davis approved, right there.
It's cold in this room.
A little bit. Yeah.
It's freezing.
The mini split does not really function in here very well in the wintertime. Yeah.
good.
It sounds awesome, dude. What else we got here?
And then
different
that side is like the gray channel. So that's like distortion and overdrive. So
It's rad.
crazy fuzz overdrive on that. Yeah, what else do we have? So these pedals, I was very adamant when we started doing these. Nobody ever referred to these as a series of pedals until like we did like 3 of them, and it became very, very obvious that
We
it
did
was
5.
well,
For
by the
you-
time we did 3, like it became obvious to people on the internet
Yes, that's true.
that
The internet.
these all look the same. Same features. or
Sure,
whatever.
sure, sure.
And then it finally, like after like enough confusion, I was like, all right, fine. Now we're just going to present these as a series. This is the preset series of pedals. I had this idea in the pandemic of like, how do we make like something like a bunch of effects that are like small format, minimal controls, a lot of different sounds, presets like the assignable expression control, but like nothing overwhelming, like no menus, no like 7,000 presets you need to remember. And it's like, how do we kind of keep like one foot in this like old
Got it.
analog world
100%, yeah,
and
yeah.
then like kind of start exploring the presets, which we had done before on other pedals. But I just like this, I think a lot of musicians just like this like tactile feel of like it's an analog pot. It's not like a button that you're like going through your poorly named presets and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
like,
If you play live a lot,
yeah,
there's subtle differences in rooms you're in, or if you're like, I know that I do a lot of shows on backlines, like with the Traders, if we go
Yeah.
to, like, you do a festival somewhere or whatever, and it's like, well, there's a twin and a Marshall, and Jay always takes the Marshall, and then I've got to figure out how to make a Roland jazz chorus work or something
Right,
like
yeah.
that. And having knobs. This just needs a little more of this.
yeah, and
Done.
you just turn it. And
Yeah.
that's that. And like, yeah, that was like the whole concept behind these. And like, my thought initially was like, well, yeah, we'll do like a tremolo, like just basic effects, tremolo, reverb, chorus, some delay, some reverb, things like that, and put it in the small format. Came up with like this preset, like sort of how the controls would work in the amount of control that we wanted
Yeah.
people to have, really.
Sure.
And then like develop the effects around that. The silos was the first one. That's like the digital analog tape delay, and like that this pedal was kind of like the digital. Like I'm a fan of like a Boss DD6, so it was like, how do I get that sound, but like without the things that I don't necessarily love about digital delays, which is like kind of like the harsh presence of it. Like the repeats are always getting in the way. It's like let them die out a little bit, but they're always like strong and kind of bright.
Right.
Or like an analog delay, which is modeled after my old KMD analog delay, which is kind of like a Boss DM2, but it had a permanently active tone control even when it was in bypass. It's a weird idea, but it's an awesome sounding delay. And then like the tape was like combining all my favorite elements of like my 2 echo plexes and my space echo and an oil can, these Telray add an echo and organ tone, like combining elements of all of that into one thing to kind of create the sound of it. So it was like, yeah, it's just like 3 controls for an effect and it's, you know, a delay pedal and like tap tempo in a small format, but it's like so much thought went into like how like each one, like the nuances of each one. And I think it's getting harder and harder to like convey that kind of information to people. Like the more that there's like, you can plug your guitar into a computer and there's 7,000 delays, but it's like, are they all good? No, they're not. They're all like reasonably close to like the thing that it says they are, but there's nothing, there's no character to it, to me anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I put like something really cool and like useful into these things? And you know, that's how I feel like about the Aurelius. It's like all like my favorite elements from like the Boss CE1, the big green
Yeah.
like chorus pedal and like, you know, like just shit that I like, I guess I'm putting in. But one of the ones that I'm like really excited about was just the Time Shadows is the one that we had released this before, like in the limited quantity of 1,000 in 2020. Right?
Correct.
I'm right about it. We're doing pretty good about agreeing, I think, on dates.
Yeah, I was warned that there was going to be a lot of arguing about dates, and you guys are,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we
Other facts too, we disagree on sometimes.
Yeah. We haven't hit them yet. We might in this next thing. But like the Time Shadows we had done before in 2020 with, it's a split with Death by Audio, and we kind of got paired because we were both in that Reverb movie about pedals.
Okay.
The pedal movie.
Yeah.
And like it sold out pretty quickly, and like people were like stoked on it. And like once we had come up with this format, like immediately was like, oh, it would be awesome. Like I always thought that this pedal, there were so many sounds in it, and it needed like a little bit more expression control. Like I felt like the presets were like a good touch. One thing that was interesting about this is like, I think I've said this before, but it's like there's a middle program in it. It was actually like the original one just had EQD side, Death by Audio side, but I had accidentally left a half finished like algorithm on an EEPROM that I was working on, and that one was just copied like in-house for the 1,000 that we put on Reverb. I don't remember who it was. I think it was one of our employees was
Correct.
had figured out that like if you force the switch into the middle, you could access this like half-baked like pitch shifting delay, and like started modding people's pedals for it, and people were like, that like pitch shifting delay and the Time Shadows is really weird. It's awesome. And like I would sometimes be like, yeah, it is. Like, what are you talking about? It's like I don't know what it is. And then somebody finally showed me, and it was like this thing. Weird. It wasn't like that though initially. Like it had no like real control over it, but it would make that sound. And I think you can do like the Rainbow Machine-ish like. Really bizarre like stuff that shouldn't happen from. Pitch shifting delays, but. Yeah, I don't know. Just stoked on this. I love Heather and Ollie. I love Death by Audio. Like, big fan of the company and everything. So it was like super cool to get to work with them again and like put this out officially.
Yeah.
And I felt like this platform like really suits it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is all of this available now? I mean, is the Gary out there in the world?
Yeah, Gary is out there.
This is the first time
Raging.
This is the first time I met Gary.
Yeah.
And I'm into it. I'm super into
I
it.
think Gary,
Yeah.
we did a subtle Gary release in November, right? Is that when it came out? Or-
Correct.
Doing good. Doing good.
Fact checking is great. Yeah.
And then before we take some questions, tell me a little about your history with Vern, since you're holding this guitar there.
I was a fan of Living Color
Well,
when
yeah.
I was like what, 13 or 14. When
Sure.
did Cult of Personality come out?
Yeah.
He's a ripper. Then I finally met him at a NAMM show, like 2018. There I am, throwing dates
Maybe,
on
I
it.
don't remember.
And then he was just there.
Pre-2020.
But he's been to Akron, right? Is he shot some video stuff for
No,
you
he hasn't-
somewhere?
I don't
or-
think he's been in. He hasn't been in Akron.
He has not been to Akron, no.
No, but we did do some videos with him.
He's invited.
He is invited to Akron, of course.
There you go.
But he was. I had a NAMM show where like literally every time I would turn around, Vernon Reed was right there, like. So, and like finishing the conversation,
Yeah, yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh my God, Vernon Reed is everywhere!" Like I was expecting to like wake up in the morning and he'd just like pop up from at the bottom of the bed. So, what I was doing, like, oh my God. So went from not knowing him to knowing him very well.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen him since.
Vern, he's gonna come walking in the door. That
Wouldn't
would
that
be,
be
that would be amazing. That would, like if he dropped that on, that would be because I told him you were gonna be here, and he was all like, "Awesome." Yeah, we've had so much fun with him over the last couple of years. I mean, obviously, look at that guitar. We put a lot of effort,
Yeah.
a lot of work went into that guitar between he and Joe, and we've done some interesting stuff. And he's going to be with us at the NAMM show next
Awesome.
weekend. Vern's doing a booth appearance at 3.
Is this the first time you used a Floyd Rose?
It is the first time we used a Floyd Rose on a guitar. It is also the first time we used gold hardware.
Yeah.
The gold is
I'm
beautiful.
always like, I'm like on the fence. Gold hardware needs to be used
Yeah.
in a very specific way, I think.
thing. Yeah.
I'm pretty anti-black hardware. Personally, that's a personal preference.
And we're doing 3 different
takes
versions of that
over
guitar,
here.
one with chrome, one with gold, and one with black. And the artwork complements each one.
Each thing, yeah. There's
Yeah, I mean,
a time and place.
it's
for
a
that.
thing, yeah.
But the Floyd Rose, I grew up on like hair metal. Like when I was a little kid, like I loved like BC Riches and Jacksons,
Nice.
Ibanez and stuff like that.
I grew up on RG 570 and worked that edge trem.
Yeah. The my first guitar was I guess the RG 550, the
Yeah.
neon yellow, black hardware.
Sick.
That's how I
So
learned to
cool.
play guitar.
Yeah.
Did not have a monkey grip on, which I was bummed about. And then I got too punk for all that stuff. But then when we were in Japan one time at Gaki Fair, I bought a BC Rich Gunslinger neon pink
Woohoo!
with a black Floyd Rose. $90. Best $90 I've ever spent. I've always wanted one. Reverse headstock, which is the only headstock BC Rich should ever make.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm
it's,
giving-
it's actually the only headstock
No,
anybody
stop.
should ever make.
It is
Yeah.
no, that is the best headstock.
Yeah.
It is. The reverse BC Rich headstock.
Oh, it's
is
pretty
fucking
good.
great.
I just like reverse headstocks, period.
Yeah, me too. This looks nice.
Yeah.
Too. Bat wing, but Floyd Rose.
Yeah, man.
I had no idea. Like it's amazing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're easier to set up now. Now they make tools that
Yeah.
make it super easy to restring one.
Yeah, John? John sets up a lot of Floyd Roses in the Reverend shop.
Not on that bridge, though, as we found out.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of recessed stuff going on with the Pro.
Ah.
Yeah, that is the Pro, as opposed to like an Edger.
The not pro.
Yeah, the not Pro.
Not
No,
the
I don't.
amateur. The amateur.
Yeah, the amateur. Yeah.
Floyd. Everyone wants a Floyd Rose amateur.
Novice.
Yeah, the Floyd Rose rookie.
And last but not least, how's it looking out there? Anybody have any questions
Yeah,
for
we got
any of
questions.
us? You got some questions? Fire away. We're gonna do our best.
All right, hang on. Give me 1 second, okay?
I'll give you all the seconds.
All right, so Eric says, hey, Earthquaker fam. First, F yeah, I'm punk rock business ethics. Second, do you have a tap tempo delay in your line that goes over 3 seconds?
No.
No?
Correct.
Perfect. So
Well-
you could learn a thing or two here. Just answer the question, you know?
I'm,
Yeah, I
I'm like
haven't-
hesitant in answering that because the second a pedal comes out, I immediately forget about all of its features and everything it could do. So maybe the Avalanche Run can do that.
Yeah, I mean,
What
you
is
didn't
the
even know that you had a
longest
pitch
delay?
shifting delay.
As far as I know, almost 2 seconds is what.
Yeah, we're
the-
maxing out.
is
around
what
2
the
seconds.
dispatch master can do.
Yeah.
So 1 second shy of your requirements, Eric.
How much
My
do you
most
guys love
sincere
Cedar Point?
apologies. You know, really a lot, but our backs have become so bad that the number of rides that I can ride personally
Yeah, I'll still
shrinks
do
every
it
year.
and then be in pain. Our daughters love it.
I
Yeah.
love it. It's America's rock and roller coaster.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how many people don't get the dispatch master
Yeah.
disaster.
Yeah.
I think quite
Avalanche
quite
run.
a few people don't know.
I have
Right.
all three of those pedals, and
The
I
whole
like that the whole
collection.
family's together there.
Yeah,
The whole
thank
history.
you. Thank you, you get it.
Rob Paul chimed in and said the Borouts are using a lot of Gary on their new record, and it's an awesome pedal. So
Nice.
Nice.
That
Excellent.
they were recording with.
yeah, they are also
With
recording.
With
Full
Clearing
Take,
with Chris, yeah.
full
Yeah,
circle.
Colte.
I know.
Hello.
Enjoy your Gary, looking forward to your recording.
So Giuseppe Santa Sauce asked if there's a pedal that you were surprised with how well it did.
Giuseppe
that's a good
Santa
question.
sauce.
All of them, just kidding.
Who would have thought that?
I think the Rainbow Machine was a real shock. We didn't know how that would do, if anybody would want to use it, and it was a classic.
Continues to be, I think everything is going to do great. There's a couple that I'm shocked at how poorly they've done.
There's some that are
Ouch.
like bigger, like regionally too.
Yeah.
Like Tone Job. We saw a lot of Tone Jobs in Japan.
Yeah. Things like that surprised me. I think the real surprise for me, like I kind of knew it was set up to do well, like coming out, but the plumes, like
Yeah.
it has become like our flagship pedal in some bizarre way, like a Tube Screamer, a Tube Screamer based pedal, which is like not even in my top 10 favorite
Yeah.
effects, like Tube Screamers, not even in the top 20. But it has become like a pedal that we're like known for. We've sold like almost 100,000 of them. It's like an insane amount for like something that like
That's a questionable number.
it is.
I'm not sure.
We sold almost
There we
like
go.
500,000.
Yeah.
Of them.
I have one too.
I think,
750,000.
I'm sure we've sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to
Oh,
60,000.
no, it's over 60.
Okay.
Let's agree to
We're in the
disagree.
If anyone,
There we
if
go.
anyone from the Earthquaker factory could chime in with the latest
Ram,
serial
run the
number.
numbers.
Ram, make me seem like I know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go 70,000.
I guess it is Tube Screamers.
I
are
guess if
kind
we're
of a
rounding up to the
staple
nearest
with
100,000.
people, I guess.
Then we are.
Right? I
there.
mean,
Pretty
they
wide
wanna,
margin.
people want to overdrive their half overdriven amp more, and
More.
everybody runs to the Tube Screamer for that kind
Yeah.
of vibe. I
And like,
guess.
well, I think it retains a little bit more character than like the other attempt that we did.
You're being
It-
modest. It retains a lot more character.
It does.
Well, it retains character, but I think of the Tube Screamer itself, like there's more to it than just Tube Screamy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that was like a shock to me, like how it continues to do well.
That's great.
I love the speaker cranker, and I
Thanks.
stacked that with the special cranker, and it's
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah, you
extra
really know
special.
what you're
Yeah,
doing.
You're
it's,
cranking a lot of things.
yeah.
Yep.
That was my. I mean, it's
Getting
still
cranked,
one,
man.
one of my favorite pedals.
Yeah.
Is the speaker cranker.
Yeah,
It's
me
the
too.
single knob.
Simple.
Single knob one.
Yeah, I can just control it with my foot. It's great. Giuseppe's back. He's coming back. He's just circling back again. He wants to know if the Gary is played with more clean and finger pick, and you can still control how much it breaks up.
Yeah. Cannot control the level of distortion. It's just like all square wave distortion on the right side. Left side's pretty dynamic, I think. But yeah, if you play with your fingers, you can do that.
Cool. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Johnny Cola wants to know what
JC.
guitars you're using now, and do you prefer single coils or humbuckers with your pedals?
Me? I kind of flip flop. I used to really just like low output single coil pickups, and now I'm kind of on high gain humbuckers. Recently discovered P90s. Been playing guitar for like I don't know how long, 30 some years. Never really spent much time with P90s. Now currently my favorite pickup. It's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, they're great.
I bet a bridge P90 into that Gary is ferocious.
Sounds awesome.
And
Yeah,
what,
yeah, how
what
good.
guitars are you using?
Guitars, all reverends.
That's a great answer. I know you have a black Space Hawk that
Yeah.
I see you with every once in a while, and I like that one.
I think the one that I'm so bad with names.
Yeah, whatever, it's all good.
I think it's a sense. It's the first guitar I got from you.
Yeah.
The pickups are so hot; they're insane. I use it. That guitar looks like somebody took it out on tour for 100 years because it was used every single day in the shop for 15 years as a testing guitar.
That's fabulous.
So
Properly relicked.
I finally just took it back because it was always my guitar, but
Yeah.
people liked playing it, so I just took it back and put it in the basement. That's probably the guitar that I currently play the most because it's sitting right next to my computer. And that guitar is awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a nice playing guitar.
It's one of the first sense. Is it Railhammers in it or a regular
No,
or standard humbucker?
just standard humbuckers.
So that
but
was
they
an
are,
early Sensei.
they are crazy hot.
Yeah. Does it have body contours? Like an arm cutaway, or
No.
is it a slab body? Yeah, that is
Slab
a
body.
very early Sensei.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Everything is like handwritten on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It is. I've never had it set up. It's always been perfect. Like the action is super low.
Yeah, we designed it like that. Set it up once and never have to set it up again.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play that guitar a lot, and I play my Chipson Les Paul with Lawler P90s.
Nice. Chips in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
All
My
right.
other guitar.
If anyone from Gibson is watching, I'll gladly take a real one and throw it in the trash. But
Yeah.
Um,
I'll
non
gladly take a real one and throw it in the trash too.
non-human audio has been chiming
and then how dumpster dive.
Oh, sorry.
in. Non-human audio has been chiming in. They said I got a question. How you guys doing?
Good.
Fine.
How are
Fine.
you doing?
Nice.
I'll let you know if they circle back.
Yeah,
Okay.
they might
All right. Now you
run
know.
into them.
David Limpf wants to know if you can recommend a pedal or group of pedals to get a jazz type tone.
That's a
of
weird
ours?
question.
It depends on what kind of jazz you
Yeah.
like.
Let's run down the types of jazz.
What was that
We're gonna be here a
jazz
while.
that was in Severance? What did they call that?
Can't remember. Literally just watched it. There's some kind of there's like an emotion tied to it. I can't remember
Yeah.
what it was.
Emotional jazz?
Emotional emo jazz.
Emo jazz.
Was it like,
That's more of a Southwest than a Midwest kind of emo.
Yeah.
Is there there's a West emo?
Yeah.
Is emotional jazz, emo jazz.
okay, but so let's just say loosely any jazz.
Loosely any jazz. I'm just gonna go with George Benson, Breezin', because it's
There you go. That's a
he's
good reference.
jazz, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
I think
Yeah.
he play a
Pop jazz.
polytone
Yeah. He did.
tone job, ledges.
Yeah, tone job into a jazz chorus, right?
Yeah, Aurelius, if you want to mimic the jazz chorus,
Oh yeah, there you go.
because I think those share the same circuit, the CU1. Not that that's a CU1, but digital emulation of a CU1.
Nice.
I don't know. Jazz is a style of music that I know next to nothing about.
There you go.
Well,
Excellent
got some
question.
recommendations.
Yeah, there's no
No
rules.
rules.
It's jazz. There's
True.
no rules.
Great.
I
your own
love
tone.
Mahavishnu Orchestra. Sometimes I hear them referred to as jazz. Sometimes they're prog. I don't know.
It's a thin line.
It is.
All right, moving on. We got Jeff T here with a banger. He says, is there any plan to reissue the Bose or a similar pedal?
Bose. Might be the first person. That's one of the pedals that surprised me at how poorly it did. I really like that. I like the germanium boosters, and yeah, there'll probably be like some other thing.
If
like
we
that.
get more requests, we just might.
Yeah.
There you go, Jeff. Get the petition
Reissue
going.
it. Yeah, that's.
Sam, I'm just going to leave it at Sam because the last name I can't say, I don't think. What music inspired each of you most and why?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Do it.
I mean, I really love, like, I grew up on, like, PJ Harvey and Sonic Youth and Patti Smith and bands like that, and they continue to be my favorite.
Is there somebody modern in that vibe that you like now?
They're all modern.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, is there a, because we've been talking a lot about all these bands in their 20s that are out there just kicking ass and taking names, and there's so many like things happen and people really being inspired by that era of music
Yeah.
that you're talking about, you know?
Well, now
Anything
you're
really
making me
jump out at
forget
you?
of every band I've ever heard.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
young bands. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm blanking all of a sudden.
This always happens to us.
Yeah, it really does.
get-
There's just like on the Sonic Youth kind of in '90s vibe in general. This band Horse Girl, which is currently like
Oh, yeah,
blowing
they're
up.
great.
They're no longer like a small band, but like, you know, that's like they're pretty young, and it was like
I
very
like that band, You Bet.
yeah, you bet.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know.
There's so many great bands out there.
I'm super bad at remembering people's band names.
What inspired
Win-Has.
you when you were younger?
What inspired me when I was younger? Like I said earlier, like I loved Poison and Van Halen when I was like real young. Like, you know,
His first concert was Boy George.
preteens, Boy George, loved that. What I've found, like a good through line for me is Van Halen. Like I would have just never not liked Van Halen, but I think a life-changing thing for me was this band called Universal Order of Armageddon.
Okay.
And we did a show with Your Junk on the guitar player, Tony Joy. In the like very, very tiny world of like 90s hardcore, like they're kind of a legendary band, but like they never like broke out in any fashion, except their whole discography just got released this year on Numero Group. I don't know how you pronounce it. And they did a really good job at reissuing and remixing it. And like, I think it has turned a lot more people onto it. But yeah, we did a show with Your Junk with Tony Joy, the guitarist. He's one of my favorite guitarists of all time. In that, like, he kind of just like embodies the spirit of like Jimi Hendrix and like obscure like 70s prog rock, and like funneled that through Black Flag. And like everything about what they were doing, like what blew my like 16-year-old brain in
Nice.
like 1993 or 4 when I saw them, and like that just sort of changed my whole trajectory
Yeah.
into like what I like about music
Yeah.
now. And you know, very rarely do I feel like I hear a band that has the intensity. They sound like Deep Purple, in rock Deep Purple, if the bass was replaced with like a motorcycle engine. Like that's kind of what it sounds
Nice.
like. But every once in a while, like a band will pop up that I like. It has like the same like vibe to it, and like a current day band like that for me is a band called Chet Pile.
Okay.
That I just recently learned I know the drummer because well, maybe I shouldn't say why. Because of where he works.
It's a secret.
Because of where he works, and I don't think he wants people to know that. But like, incredible band. Like
Yeah.
same kind of energy, I think. Like, totally different styles of music, but just like has that vibe
Yeah.
to it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming.
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much
us.
for
It was
having
a lot
us.
of fun.
I've
It's
been-
been a
yeah.
delight.
And come again.
Yes,
Like when you have
absolutely.
other pedals and stuff, let's, you know,
Awesome.
We should do it.
get together.
Well, we
too.
want to send our video crew out and
Yeah.
do some stuff for
Yeah.
our channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like that, Gary, I'll send you one.
Oh, awesome.
You get a Gear Bear.
Nice.
Yep.
Hey, you know, what's going on next week? Anything interesting?
It's gonna be cold.
Yeah. Are we
I'll
doing?
be here.
You'll be here? Yeah.
I won't be here.
I heard that they do this little guitar festival thing.
Well, now you were doing a little guitar festival thing next week, right? You were signed up
Yeah.
for something. Is it happening?
Yeah, we're doing something, it's adjacent to another larger trade show.
Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
think that
Yeah.
you're
So
going
you're
to-
not displaying at the NAMM show next week. You are
No,
displaying
we're
at.
NAMM adjacent.
NAMM adjacent.
NAMM
Yeah,
adjacent.
It's called
Woodwire.
Woodwire Volts.
Okay.
It's at the Colony House in Anaheim, which is a really cool venue.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of small builders. It's been organized by Curtis Novak Pickups,
Mm-hmm.
Built Guitars, Dunnable,
Us.
Us,
Mythos.
Mythos Pedals, and
So
a bunch
many
of
other
other
companies
cool,
that- yeah.
cool brands. Yeah.
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 I feel like it keeps growing to like the amount of people who are exhibiting.
Yeah.
They're still adding to it, but
No, that's great.
it should be cool.
It's just Thursday and Friday, so it's a 2-day show.
Okay.
There's like kind of like the trade show part is the first part of the day, and then in the evening there's concerts and performances. So
At the
at the
Colony.
Colony House, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Fun.
yeah.
Cool. We are, of course, we'll be at the NAMM show. There's a whole lot of stuff. We have some really cool product launch stuff at the NAMM show this year, and we're dropping all the new guitars on Thursday, everybody. And Thursday, coincidentally at NAMM, Ryan, Spice, Alexi, and Chris Freeman are going to be at the Reverend booth at, is it 1 or 2? I don't even remember.
You tell me, bud.
You can find it all on our stuff, but they're going to be doing a meet and greet at the Reverend booth. And then Thursday at 5 p.m., Reverend endorsers Bite Me Bambi will be playing on the outdoor stage down by the arena off of Harbor.
Awesome.
And then we're having a little cocktail soiree at a place called Club 616 after that on Thursday night.
Nice.
And then Friday, Vern is going to be at the booth. He'll be around at 3 o'clock again doing the meet and greet thing. And we're dropping so many new things. And NAMM is going forward. All these events are going forward, even with the troubles that they've been having out there. And I'll probably be talking a little about that on social media over the weekend. But there's reasons why these things are still happening. And I can't speak for the event that you guys are going to, but one of the things that happens is, of course, once you put all this stuff in motion, it's really hard to unwind it. And the NAMM organization has put out a big statement this morning. We're not displacing anybody by having this event. And I think one of the things that people forget about, and one of the high horses that I get on all the time, is that NAMM is more than just a trade show, and it's more than just everybody always talks about, well, maybe we should put the corporate profits aside for a minute, and talk about helping people. And I understand that vibe, and I understand where everybody's coming from, but what NAMM actually is an organization that lobbies Congress for money for music education, and they spend most of that in inner city and rural areas that need money for music education and need, and they spend a lot of their times trying not to have that stuff cut out of budgets, and it's important because kids that get music education in schools do better in STEM, period. There's no argument there. So the NAMM show itself is the largest revenue generating stream that NAMM has in order to support their efforts with music education. And people just think of the NAMM show as this like thing where all the guitar guys get together and hang out or whatever, but really when you go, everything is there and all of the band instruments are there and all of that stuff. And the reason why they're all there is because we're all there to support what the organization does. So that being said, we can't just yank the rug out from underneath of their big fundraiser, because it's important it's for the kids, man. It's for the kids. So I'm sorry, but I had to go there. Because I keep getting asked, like, you're still going? And it's like, yeah, I'm still going. I feel
it's
like
definitely a weird year for sure.
it is definitely weird.
It is.
They're very clear on the NAMM website that the fires are fully 60 miles
Yeah.
from the trade show site.
And
But there's so many people in the area that have been impacted.
yeah,
But it's not going to be, it's going to be years of recovery.
it is.
And I think bringing people together and keeping that sense of community is helpful.
And
really
yeah,
difficult
there's all
times.
kinds of fundraisers and donations and things that are going on around the NAMM show
Yeah.
for relief for that, and people are contributing money and gear for different things and different fundraising things, and we're going to be involved in all those activities,
Oh, of
all of
course,
us,
yeah.
because that's what we all do, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that for sure. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys checking in here every week. I'm not going to be here next week at 11. I'm going to be in California doing the NAMM show thing. But at some point, we'll jump on live and walk around our area and show you what we brought and show you what the people around us brought. And we'll have a good time with all that stuff. So pay attention to wherever you're watching this and you will get updates live from the NAMM show next week. And you guys, what's next for you? What's coming up after?
We have a lot of travel this year. We're going to do an event in Budapest at the beginning of March. We're going to go to Sao Paulo, Brazil. We're going to be back in Japan in May for Osaka Soundmesse. So yeah, lots of cool
Yeah,
stuff
do
going our way.
a lot of clinics, dealer visits, new products.
Fun.
Yes.
Man, lucky. Well, look for all of us out there everywhere in your face. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you from the